Hi, everybody. um, I meant to run the Twitch ad break, you know, before, like when I start the stream, because that's what I do. But I forgot to run the ad. So the ad's gonna happen a little bit early today. So just bear with me on that one. Uh, I'm still sort of trying to figure out the whole multi-streaming YouTube thing and getting the chats to work because my chat doesn't exactly seem to be like going to restream properly where I can like see it where it's supposed to be. But that's okay. If someone is willing to go into the YouTube and send some chat messages and see if it works, I'd appreciate it greatly. Welcome in Stylish Fail. Hi, Ure, Callie, Ishmael, many of you. Uh, Hi. um, Thank you, Stylish Fail. Yeah, the chat is supposed to be showing up here, like on screen. My dog just opened my door and walked in. There's a dog. Um, it's supposed to be showing up here, but I sent a message in my own YouTube chat and it didn't show up here, and that is concerning, I suppose, because I would like the chat to show up ideally. Uh, and Stylish Fail, when you say something in chat, I'll read it, uh, so that you know that I have in fact seen what you said in chat. And if I don't seem to see it, then probably come back to Twitch and let me know that things are not working. That would be greatly appreciated. Hi. Welcome. I didn't do my spiel. I immediately launched into troubleshooting my own stream. And thank you all for bearing with me as we venture into the world of multi-streaming. Oh, it shows up. This is Stylish Fail posting at 2056. That's beautiful. Um, that's fascinating because I didn't see my own chat in YouTube, but I saw yours. So it does confirm, in fact, that it's working, which is good. So and there's Ishmael posting in YouTube too. Beautiful. This is very reassuring. That YouTube is in fact working. It just doesn't work for me, apparently. Like I look at my own YouTube studio and it shows me where chat is supposed to be, and just nothing shows up. But within like Restream, the multi-streaming thing, I can see all the chats. That's weird. Um, Hi, welcome everyone. How are we doing? Good afternoon. Undying Turtale. I think that's Mr. Aegis, right? That's a version of Mr. Aegis, I think. If I'm not wrong, I could be super wrong. Is that you? I think that's you. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That means we could read like Ure's poem first, and then one of your poems, Undying to Tale, or Undying, uh, because yeah, y'all have stuff submitted. Chilling. Didn't sleep too much since my friend woke me up and went for a drive. What about you? How's your day? Slacking off and working on my novel. Okay. How's my day been? Good so far. I woke up and I wrote my little morning journal. This is something I do every day. I just write a little bit about the day to come and the day before. Uh, I feel like it's just like a habit that showed up. I wasn't even like trying to necessarily do that. And then I do that now. And then I made myself breakfast, which is really just a big smoothie full of all sorts of things that shouldn't go together, uh, which has like a lot of I put like 15 things in this smoothie every morning, and it has a lot of my nutritional value for the day. It's sort of like my homemade, Soylent or whatever. And uh, I don't know, my dog was sitting in my lap the other day which is cool. Not the other day, this morning. He was sitting here, uh, and that was cool. I had band practice a couple days ago. I'm in a punk band, for those who are not aware, and I had band practice, and it was very, very good, so I'm doing well. Yesterday, I went to um, do some food distro, giving food for the unhoused in Las Vegas, and that was nice. That is always nice. I love doing that. So things are good, I would say. I'm wearing one of my preferred sweaters uh, today. This is a cropped sweater, which shows off my attractive midriff. And yeah, I wrote a poem yesterday, put it on my Substack, written within the world of this role playing game, uh, Wander Home. Yeah, things are good. Ah. I have a lot of money for food. That's good. I posted another poem, by the way. It isn't mine. It's from BoJack Horseman. I think someone else has sent the BoJack Horseman. We've done the BoJack Horseman poem on stream before, and I was like super tired and totally just like didn't engage with it. So it might be worth going back to. Like I'm not opposed to reading the BoJack Horseman poem again because I don't feel like I really gave it the time of day last time. Did we tie? How are we tying on the freaking poll every time on Twitch? That's crazy. The BoJack Horseman poem, it's yeah, the view from halfway down, a poem. I think it's at like the end of the TV show BoJack Horseman. I watched some of it. We can vote more than once. I know. That's the whole idea. I want y'all to like get into channel point bidding wars on what incense I burn. We're gonna double up today. We're gonna burn 2 incense. I'm gonna be extra fragrant. My hair is gonna be going crazy. It like sets into my hair. That's what I mean. You might have sent it, Shake My Spear. That's very possible. It seems like that's a very like in terms of modern poetry, seems like that's very well known if multiple different people are wanting to send it and appreciate it. Maybe that's something worth making like some longer form content on, right? I'm jealous of all the grass touching. I spent all my time locked in my room writing. Well, writing is good. And it's like definitely good that you're doing that. But no. Okay. Y'all need to stay. Okay. Incense is burning. We're getting smoky up in here. Yeah, writing is good. Grass touching is good too. It's all about finding balance. Nearly finished 2 skirts in as many days. Stylish fail. I don't think I've showed you this because you haven't been around as much. I've been mending clothes. This is a new hobby of mine that I'm doing. Mending clothes. Look, this is a internal patch that I did on the back of pants. And I also patched a hole here in the pocket with a nice little woven into the fabric patch. This is like one of my favorite hobbies now. New thing that I'm doing. Looks cool, thank you. The BoJack Horseman poem ages like wine the older you get. Not old. I'm too young for anything to have aged like wine, right? Because I'm like 21. I'm just not aged. Y'all, here's so many of you. Hi, Ray. Welcome. Sweater looks fly. Thank you. Now I'm working on my Sisyphus Hill, knitting a scarf on 2.5 millimeter needles. So I guess that's probably like really fine yarn. That, I mean, that sounds like a very long project. I have not knitted. I've tried to knit a little bit and found it quite difficult. So I think it's just a patience thing, though. I patched a huge hole in the top of my pants. Can't get into them anymore, though, I'm afraid. I patched a huge hole in the top. Shake my spirit to the best. Was not expecting to see you on my YouTube front page. Welcome in, who chose Tuna Girl. Oh, is this, is that you? Am I allowed to say your name? Yeah. Anyway, I've started multi-streaming on YouTube. I don't know if I'm allowed to say your name, if that's something you're trying to conceal. Oh, you're 22, Yurei. That's like me. I mean, I'm 21, but I'm 22 in less than 2 months. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, less than 2 months. I will be 22, and then I'll be old. Not as old as Brian though. 20 years older than me. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, so there's an invisible YouTube chat here. So yeah, YouTube chats should appear on this thing here, right? The on-screen chat, everyone will be able to see all chats from all platforms. If you just look in your own chat on your respective platform, you will not see all of the chats. So you can see the icon, red or purple, YouTube or Twitch, and you will then know where it's coming from. It's whatever, I guess. I don't know. I cropped a shirt today. That's awesome. I bet you look great in crop tops. Everyone except me and Ginny pushing 40s. Now, who chose Tuna Girl is our age. And I think Ishmael is maybe around our age. I don't know. I forget sometimes. Yeah. I don't know. Shake My Spirit somewhere in between. Is 10 Things I Hate About You a poem? I'm not familiar. Isn't that a show? Is like what's I don't know. I don't know what 10 Things I Hate About You really is. I don't know anything about it. Welcome in, Brian. I don't know if I said hi. I guess I read your comment. I mean the list reading part. Still don't know anything about 10 Things I Hate About You. Much Ado About Nothing. I don't know. We're going into things I don't know. You started meditating again. That's excellent, Callie. I bet that will help you move like water. And moving like water is good. You do look good in that crop top, Tuna. Sending me messages on Discord. Oops, I'm wrong. It's a reimagining of Shrew. I need to read more Shakespeare, guys. I have only read Romeo and Juliet a long time ago. I've seen it. I read... Oh, man. I've seen Titus Andronicus in theaters, in a theater. A performance. A theatrical performance. I read some comedy. Yeah, I'm not very not very versed, I guess, in Shakespeare's verse, and I would like to get into that more. There's so much stuff to read. I started reading a new book today, in addition to my continued reading of In Search of Lost Time. Stylish Fail, I'm reading In Search of Lost Time. You're one of the people who recommended the book to me. But I also started a new book called The Land Where Blues Began, which is a memoir from a guy named Alan Lomax. And he was he was a white dude. He and he was like university educated and stuff, but he grew up in the South and he grew up with the blues. And he was the first person who ever took a portable recording device to take field recordings of Southern Mississippi Delta blues musicians. And he is like basically one of the big reasons that the blues like exploded into mainstream America, and then the birth of like jazz and rock and roll and all of that. And it's like his memoir, really well written, very like interesting historical stuff. So that's cool. And we're still reading Proust, and it's the most incredible writing I've ever read. Oh my gosh, I love Proust. I went to London a few years in a row. I always catch a few plays in Shakespeare's Globe and drunk Shakespeare just for fun. Dude, that's awesome. That's so cool. Europe is crazy. You can just go places. Taming of the Shrew, although I guess they kind of Brexited, right? So it's harder to go to the UK now. Or to Britain. I don't know. Taming of the Shrew is about a woman who hates all men, and her dad can't marry her off. But basically a guy takes it as a personal challenge to submit her... The Taming of the Shrew. But it's a comedy, right? Or is this like a tragic Shakespeare? Because like I feel like this could go both ways, right? I hate the way you talk to me and the way you cut your hair. I hate the way you drive my car. I hate it when you stare. I hate your big dumb combat boots and the way you read my mind. I hate you so much that it makes me sick and even makes me rhyme. That's fun. Is that yours, or is that from 10 Things I Hate About You? Is this 10 Things I Hate? I hate the way you're always right. I hate it when you lie. I hate it when you make me laugh. Even worse, you make me cry. I hate it when you're not around and the fact you didn't call. I mean, this seems like a poem. Like, that's fairly poetic, right? That's giving poem. I didn't know there was a poem at all, mostly joking about Shakespeare's reimagination. On the story of blues, I love how technology can be a spin wheel for art. Right. Yeah, technology can be good. It can make art happen. Technology can also be awful and bad. So there's that. I've mostly been reading essays and philosophy stuff. Ooh, I read Kierkegaard. I read Kierkegaard. I read Fear and Trembling. Although basically I read in earnest like the first 50 pages or so, like the opening of Fear and Trembling. And I thought Kierkegaard is the most miserable writer ever, and I find him like genuinely unreadable, and I hate his philosophy, and he's like wrong and bad. So then I basically like skimmed the rest of Fear and Trembling, and I thought it really just doubles down on the misery and unpleasantness. So yeah. Kierkegaard is an L. If anyone tells you to read Fear and Trembling, they're wrong. That's my thought. I think it's bad. It's a bad book. So that's my latest philosophic venture. Although I read I mean, he's not hard to read. Like, he's just, the gif of the guy, I don't know if it's someone who's like explaining a bunch of stuff on a chalkboard or like writing all over it, and it's sped up and it's super frantic, and it's meant to be like sort of ironic, like they're just like over explaining themselves and like doing all this bullshit. That's how Kierkegaard feels. He's very like frantic and all over the place, and like he's just like pouring words out onto the page, and I'm like, I feel like he just needs to organize his thoughts a little bit. I also read some essays on Confucius. So I guess I have been reading some actual philosophy. I found Confucius slightly more compelling, though it seems silly that, as I understand it, Confucius kind of took the idea of the Tao and said like Lao Tzu didn't like go far enough, or Lao Tzu needs to be expanded upon, when the whole point of like the Tao is like a distillation. Um, I think I think Confucius moves away from the Tao by trying to add to it, you know? So there's that. Imagine an inverse, the taming of the dude, a mommy's boy whose mom furiously tries to find him a girlfriend. Oh my gosh, it's like an incel, right? And then this girl says, I'm gonna make this guy uh, want to have a girlfriend. That would be good. That would be really fun. That would be some. I'd read it. I'd read it. uh, I've been reading Simone Weil's. I recognize that name, Simone Weil. I don't know her though. Gravity and Grace. I see why Camus loved her so much. Okay, well if Camus loved her, she's probably not bad. Um, I've seen it done with all queer actors, which takes the men versus women dynamic away. Okay. It can be argued that that takes away the main point of the show, but it's interesting to see it as purely one person's power over another. I mean, that's a very important facet of love and society and how those things work, right? Kierkegaard used to send letters to Hegel under a fake name, just shitting on him and his philosophy. Yeah, I mean, like, he hates Hegel so much, right? And he like it feels like he exists to hate on Hegel, and that's probably not a good like philosophic system. Like in the first 5 pages of Fear and Trembling, the introduction, he's like just already like trying to rip into Hegel, and like it makes sense. Like Hegel's philosophy is an invalidation of Kierkegaard's philosophy. Hegel makes the motion past belief, and Kierkegaard revels in the motion of belief. Oh yeah, Schopenhauer hated Hegel too. Yeah. Um, and like if someone's philosophy like dunks on yours, that's kind of tough, right? Um, but uh yeah, I don't know. He's just not a good writer, I guess. And doing all like the fake names and the sending letters and all that stuff is really like I don't know, very performative. Camus called her something like the last earnest soul, or the closest thing to convincing him that the soul exists, or such praise. That's, I mean, that's very high praise, right? Um, that's impressive because Camus is beyond faith. He's looking at the going like starting with nihilism and moving from there. Like there is nothing, there is no point. Now what? And to say that someone almost convinced someone like that there is a soul is like very powerful. So, guys, I messed up. As I said at the start, I didn't run the ad break immediately when stream started, which is what I'm supposed to do. So now there's an ad break running half an hour into stream. And I was basically just talking until this point so that I could run the ad break and then we can go into the poems. If you're watching on YouTube, you're not going to get an ad break. This is purely like a Twitch thing. But most of you are watching from Twitch. So it doesn't really, I'm not sure it totally matters. Does Does... Is Restream missing some of my chats, or is it just delayed? I think it's just further delayed. I think that's what's happening. Anyway, I'm going to be right back. And I'll lock in for some poetry. We'll read Uray's thing. I think Restream is missing some of the chats. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, well, I'll be right back and I'll look at this. Hello. Okay, so I have in fact confirmed through cross-referencing my chats that the Restream shared chat kind of sucks and it misses messages sometimes. So now I just have two chats open at the same time on my screen and I just have to look at both of them, which is fine, you know? So what's happening now is we're going to dive into a poem submitted by Uray TFT, and it is called A Dancing Skeleton Solitude, which is a fun name. It sounds very like Halloween or very like Edgar Allan Poe. So that's I'm kind of excited. I feel like spooky poetry is cool, and um, those sort of feelings of unease. I don't know if this is going to be spooky, but dancing skeletons, seems like it. I feel like it's a difficult thing to do, and not one that I've heavily experimented with. Y'all have lots of chats in here about Shakespeare and stuff that I'm just not gonna read. I will say I like Shakespeare, um, and but haven't read that much of him, so I don't have strong opinions. um, it's a poem about old people. Okay, that is some fun context that we will add over here. Um, and I guess in addition to that, it's totally your choice, Ure. If you'd like to provide any other context for the poem, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, um, if you, there are certain themes or parts that you want to call attention to, that can be useful for me to do the analysis and have some sort of guide. Sometimes it's as much as like, I don't like the fifth line of the poem, and then we can like use that as a jumping off point for discussion. If you don't have anything like that, that's totally okay. And we'll just dive into it with the context of this is a poem about old people. Your handwriting is so pretty, thank you. I actually usually write in cursive and have pretty handwriting like that. So, but I think that's a little bit difficult for stream sometimes for comprehensibility. So we've moved on to my print, which I try to keep controlled. I originally started writing cursive because my print was really messy, and I think doing so and paying attention to my writing has helped my print be a little prettier. It's a very difficult poem, is all I'll say. I did skim it and noticed there was a lot of things going on. I wrote it roughly 6 years ago. Wow. So you've been writing for like a lot of your life, because you said you're 22, and you said you're 22, which means if we subtract 6 from that, you wrote this when you were 16? That's crazy. I've only been writing for 2 years, or 2.5 years. Stage fell, so the calligraphy didn't help. I guess that helped too. The calligraphy was the thing that got me to write cursive, I think. So, you were turning 17. Were you feeling old? Yeah, I can't read in cursive at all. Online schooled all my life. Right, yeah. No way. My birthday's March 24th, Ure. So we're like almost exactly a year apart. Anyway, let's jump into the poem. Let's talk about it. Let's see what's up. A dancing skeleton's solitude. Decomposed smiles and cries of time, decay and fugue in a wallow of misery, amour propre engulfed in impotence and solitude. Exhort for God to take me in as well. Worthless I beseech, impart purpose. Golloped? That's a new word for me. Golloped inside, I cannot endure nihilism. Mislaid again, death swallow me whole, brain aches as worthlessness convenes. My name is you, I swear. Again perceived as a walking corpse, pageant of time dictates what you can see. Pride go away, now or never, I say. To the grave once again, you left me hollow flow of time. Dance with my bones in the clear solitude I longed for, kissed me a good night. Okay. As you said, it is a hard poem, and I think I agree with that. There is like a lot going on here. We're using like a pretty heavy vocabulary, I would say, And we're going in a lot of directions talking about big conceptual things, right? We've got our like solitudes and times, and we've got exhorting God. We've got um, nihilism and worthlessness. We're beseeching. This is very, very dramatic, right? Very, very there, I guess. Pride, another big conceptual thing. Um, to the grave, once again, you left me hollow flow of time. Come back to time, solitude. So yeah, very existential, uh, as you say, and I think it's hard for any poem to not be existential when it mentions nihilism, when it's talking about death, solitude, time. There are a few things I would say that, we should define, look up. I don't know if I can just crowdsource this, if people can from chat can tell me what amour propre is, what galloped is, because I almost read this as galloped, but it's not galloped, it's galloped, and that's a word I've just, I think, never seen before. Um, and other than that, I think everything's good for me. If anyone has other words in here they're unfamiliar with, do say, because if we want to understand something, if we want to talk about something, if we want to analyze, if we want to engage with a work, we shouldn't be sort of embarrassed. I think sometimes people are to like look up a word or to admit we don't know a word. Because, like, if we don't look it up, if we don't clarify our definitions, then, we're just selling ourselves short. We're giving ourselves less of a chance to understand. Uh, I guess I'll even say exhort too, because I'm familiar with this word. I've even used this word, and I'm not exactly precise on like the definition of it, and that's okay. So to exhort is to strongly encourage, to urge, to all of that. So exhort is to encourage. To gollop is to eat or drink. Eat or drink greedily. So if I am golloped, I have been eaten or drank from, or am I like hungry to eat? Probably eaten, like I am emptied out and consumed. Amour propre, French. Self-love is a French term that can be variously translated self-love, self-esteem, or vanity. In philosophy, it is a term used by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Okay, so we're back to like existential thought. Rousseau was pre-existential, right? Rousseau was earlier than that, I think. Is this a specific reference to that, Ure? I do wonder. I was very ambitious young, right? I feel like I have a poem a bit like this from like early in my writing that I was like, I'm gonna engage with lots of philosophic things and these big words, and it had like a kind of science, like physics thing going on in it, making like reference to mathematics and stuff like that. Um, but this is cool. So we've got self-love. We also have the idea of vanity. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who contrasts it with another kind of self-love, which he calls amour de soi. Okay. This doesn't reference anything. Okay, cool. I've really fallen out of love with poetry about big concepts. I think that's fair. Um, there's a lot of different ways we can write poetry. Tiny things of beauty, big concepts, tiny things of beauty that hold big concepts. uh, you know, interactions of regular life and the mundane. We have poetry that like romanticizes and is about other people. I think it's totally fine. Like it's probably better to have things we dislike and things we like. um, because, having opinions is really important. If you're an artist and you don't have art you dislike, I think that's a problem. Like art within your medium. Well, solely big concepts. Fair enough. I need that connection to the specific, to the personal. Makes sense. I think that's a beautiful thing that poetry does, is connect to that, like, human element. So I'm going to read this again, and I'll maybe start underlining things and trying to construct a way we can approach this poem and understand it better. Decomposed smiles and cries of time, decay and fugue in a wallow of misery. Amour propre, engulfed in impotence and solitude, exhort for God to take me in as well. Worthless, I beseech, impart a purpose. Golloped inside, I cannot endure nihilism, mislaid again. Death swallow me whole. Brain aches as worthlessness convenes. My name is you, I swear. Again perceived as a walking corpse, pageant of time dictates what you can see. Pride, go away. Now or never, I say. To the grave once again. You left me hollow flow of time. Dance with my bones in the clear, solitude I longed for. Kissed me good night. Okay, so we have ideas of time throughout. We have this big idea of hollowness, decay, fugue, hollow, golloped inside. And we have, even solitude has this sort of connection to hollowness, this single, empty, you know, point of being where one is alone. Which, understandably connected to death, corpses, bones, we have that happening all throughout. And then time, intrinsically fairly connected with death. The main inspiration for this was my grandparents. I saw them age and die, so I was very familiar with their progressing despair in their bodies. That sounds very hard. I have not watched someone die or approach death. I've been fairly insulated from death in my life. But watching one's grandparents die. Big deal, right? I feel like those are like one of the first times we grapple with death is when our grandparents or great grandparents or other people in family die, right? It's about actual over potential particular. It's more that I connect more with poetry if it's anchored in something small, specific. Poems about justice or death don't really do it for me. Makes sense. I'm not sure how I feel about that on a categorical level. I like a lot of poetry. It's usually like a poem to poem basis, I guess. Um, so pride and emptiness, this sort of self-filling and this decay of self against time. We have these like ideas of like these natural cycles. We also have God, belief, meaning, existential, faith, all of these things going on. And I guess this is definitely a poem where we want to just start delving into the meaning of the words because they are very dense. And I think without a better understanding of what we're really talking about here, it's going to be difficult to say very much about this poem. Some poems lean much further into the lyrical or the structural. This one is very heavy on meaning. So, decomposed smiles and cries of time. We're just sort of setting up death here, right? I mean, a decomposed smile, we can probably think of the skeleton. We see its teeth, it's sort of smiling, and cries of time. Decay, cries of time. Maybe we'll come back to that. Decay and fugue in a wallow of misery. Decay and fugue. Fugue is like... The semicolon connections are also important if you want to properly understand the poem. Noted. Fugue. I mean, fugue has lots of meanings. We have fugue as music. We have fugue as like a fugue state of emptiness, of hollowness. Loss of awareness of one's identity is the first thing I read as a definition of that. So not only are we talking about the decomposition of body and like moving away from life, but also the decomposition of mind and identity in fugue, in wallow of misery, right? These are like mental pain. And even like the cries, we sort of distinguish, cries are something of the mind, fugue, wallow, misery, contrasted against decay. Body, mind, a very important distinction, something we see a lot in art, right? Hi, Leon. Welcome in. We're reading a poem about death by Ure TFT. Semicolon. You mentioned these are important, so I'll maybe circle that. Amor propre, engulfed in impotence and solitude. Vanity, self-love, maybe a filling of self. Engulfed in impotence and solitude. Impotence has two meanings, right? To be impotent is to be unable to reproduce. Impotence is also to be just powerless and helpless. I think this, double meaning on its own is probably like already quite effective here, right? Because it's a word of both mind and body. To be impotent, to be helpless, to be unable, feel like you can do nothing is a mental phenomenon. To be engulfed in impotence, to be unable to reproduce, to be able to create new life, simultaneously is a reflection on death. If we can't create new life, death is something that just comes and destroys and obliterates oneself. So I think that's just a very powerful word here. And in connection with love, maybe makes sense. Amor. Amor propre, engulfed in impotence and solitude. Exhort for God to take me in as well. We're alone. We have no hope. Exhort, encourage for God, like ask God to take me in. We're looking for something to believe in, I think is what's happening here roughly. We are hopeless, empty, rotten. Everything has been taken away. We are alone. And one would hope for anything, for some God to like free one of that, because a God would provide meaning, a God would provide purpose. A God makes death not, this cry of time, this impotent end, this feeling of solitude. Amor propre in impotence and solitude, it almost reads like a sad wink, but I don't think that's the purpose. I mean, I think it's almost like a reasonable reading, right? Because like one is just like trying to love oneself. One is trying to achieve something as high as potence, reproduction, something sort of godly, something to beat death. And instead, we're just, beating ourselves off. This sort of life of masturbatory continuation into time. I think there's like an acceptable reading that really like works there, right? Imagine someone's homework is explaining this poem and they just write, I don't know, sad wake. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like if one can justify um, an interpretation, then it's a valid interpretation, right? There's a subjectivity there, and I think it makes more sense that it than I think it makes a good amount of sense, you know. Death is just like faith. Brace yourself. The pace is fast. The face to face with a place to rot. Pretty. Oh gosh, we're talking about y'all are sending a lot of messages. I'm doing my best. We're gonna keep going. Worthless I beseech. So we have this like I am nothing before God. I am worthless. Maybe we should talk about exhort for God to take me in as well. Amor propere, engulfed in impotence and solitude. Um, Yeah, it's very dense. Decomposed smiles and cries of time decay and fugue in a wallow of misery. Semicolon. Amor per prey, engulfed in impotence and solitude. And you called out the semicolon specifically. These generally imply that the following phrase, the following idea, has some connection to the thing that came before. And uh and I think, this is sort of to say that before death, one is alone, one is helpless, right? This all stop erasing. This all exists in relation to the thing before it. I am alone. I cannot love myself. I am engulfed in helplessness, the inability to create life and move forward because of death. And because of that, I hope to exhort for God to take me in. I hope for any amount of faith, any steady thing to believe in, so that I might go forward, create life again, return to potence. I think impotence also implies a little bit of a like connection to God, because we talk about God as omnipotent, right? God is sort of the ultimate opposite of impotence, fully powerful, a creator, birth, that kind of stuff. The sad thing is most people that read this poem don't even realize it's about old people unless I tell them. Yeah, and maybe we can talk about that. Because I mean that to me says you would like for people to understand this as being about old people. And the way that we get people to understand the thing we're trying to say, old people, is to, have clear communication, have things that point to our meaning. We want to signal people. We want symbols that like provide this sort of idea. And we can talk about whether we effectively did this in this poem, right? Later. We should understand it first. This is something I insist on. You're new to the analysis thing, you're that we have to understand before we decide if something is effective, if it's good, if it's bad, if it's working. if it's achieving its purpose. Because if I just read this twice and say, yeah, I don't really get the old people vibe, like, I haven't really done justice to it, right? You know, it's a good poem when you can barely read it because of Lotus's notes. I mean, sometimes that just means it's a difficult poem, right? Difficult is not always good, but this poem is certainly dense, and I do enjoy density of language. Worthless, I beseech, impart purpose. I beseech, I ask. I ask, hyphen, this thing, impart purpose, give me purpose. I think this is what we were talking about before with God. You know, give me meaning. Give me, amor, right? That, like, self-love, that thing that fills me. Give me, meaning, God, love, fullness is what we're asking for. What's the title? A Dancing Skeleton's Solitude. Worthless, I beseech, impart purpose. Galloped inside, I cannot endure nihilism. So I've been emptied out, right? I've been emptied, so I am asking for purpose. I cannot endure nihilism. Nihilism to have no purpose. No inherent motion of life, nothing to guide oneself, any of that stuff. Thank you for pinning that message, Phil. You're the goat. Galloped inside, I cannot endure nihilism. And, like, this is sort of fascinating, right? Because nihilism starts from the point of, like, we are empty, we are without purpose. A skeleton dances in solitude. It's a dancing skeleton solitude, but I think you're close enough that it's okay. Unless, I mean, maybe we should be correct, but I know it takes time to type things out. Empty. This is like the starting point of nihilism. Like, we are empty. There is no meaning. There is no purpose. And I find it really fascinating that the reasoning, right, I cannot endure nihilism, is because I am empty. Galloped inside, I cannot endure nihilism. Unless that is to say, right, gollop is to eat or drink greedily. If we interpreted golloped as, rather than eaten out, maybe that's a bad phrasing, to be eaten away, like, on a fundamental internal level. If we reinterpret that as, like, needing to eat, as starving for something, I'm not sure how to interpret this word here, but if we were to say, like, desiring to gollop, which I don't exactly think is the meaning here, but yeah, we're really on the sad wank vibes, you're right. If we are to say, like, like, desiring to eat, desiring to fill oneself, with meaning, then that makes sense as a counterpart to nihilism. I cannot endure nihilism because I am seeking meaning, because I am hungry, because I need to eat and I need this God thing. I need meaning, right? In the face of death. Like, that makes more sense to me than, like, I am empty, so I cannot endure the thing that begins with emptiness. But if I say I am hungry, so I cannot endure emptiness, that kind of makes sense to me. I had to look up what nihilism meant. I can also define for everyone. Nihilism is a philosophy, first and foremost. Never be afraid to ask, in general, about what something means. It's a philosophy that, you know, starts with the idea that nothing matters. We're just like these animals on a floating rock in space, and it's pointlessness, and there's no purpose, etc. Right? Um, this is like the starting point of nihilism. There are things like optimistic nihilism, which says like nothing matters, so I will, kind of choose to be happy or like create my own meaning. There's also the very like pessimistic nihilism, which I think at its heart really is like suicide. Um, as someone who has kind of done that, uh, unsuccessfully. uh, where nothing matters to the point where we just leave, right? Which is, you know, that's sort of the nihilistic area. Is like nothing matters, so I am supremely content in my own being. Nothing matters, so I am gonna end my life. It's very like Albert Camus. The only true question of philosophy is that of suicide, right? All right, so I guess I'd be the optimistic version, but I'm definitely a stuff matters guy. Yeah, I mean, like, that's not to say, like, one does not have to be a nihilist. Um, I think if stuff matters, if things seem to have, like, inherent value and you're cool with that, probably not a nihilist. Optimistic nihilism is probably my preferred one if I had to choose, though. Right? Meaning is demeaning, minimizing things. Nihilism is wrong. Everything is nothing, even void is interesting. There you go. The word nihilism was me deciding to be straightforward for once in a poem. Yeah, it is very just like, bam, nihilism. I can't do this. I cannot endure emptiness. Uh, yeah, you're an optimistic nihilist, Stylish Phil. That's good. I'd rather you be that than pessimistic. only only really the bastardized middle school ass version. Originally nihilism was a revolutionary philosophy. Would love to know more, shake my spear. I've not read much uh, about existentialism in general, but I could definitely see like how it could be tied to revolutionary aspects. Back to the poem though. Mislaid again. Death swallow me whole. I like this like mislaid thing. Um Again, uh are we failing to escape the sad wank allegations? I think so. Um um Look up nihilism in the Russian Revolution. Certainly not right now. But mislaid kind of has this like really close sonic counterpart of misled, where we're having this kind of pretty double meaning, right? Um, Mislaid again, death swallow me whole. So we have laid as to, yeah, mislaid misses being laid. Yeah. I miss being laid. Um, but laid, as laid to rest, as death, as the end. mislaid is interesting. Like, one has been laid into death, one has gone into death in the wrong way somehow, but then also misled. Um, and I think we have this idea of faith, this desire for God, for some purpose, and yet this constant deferring, this falling back to nihilism, which, kind of makes sense, right? That in that setting, um, belief itself, meaning itself would feel um, misleading. Like one has been misled, and so one has been mislaid, and they cannot comprehend death, and one misses being laid, getting laid. EJ Sean, welcome. Thank you for the raid. I hope you had a good stream. Everyone, make sure to go follow EJ Sean. I think it's slash S or slash shout out. Stylish fail. It's very hard, right? But we're gonna shout you out. Another writing streamer. Uh, totally cool to raid and run. Get some rest after your stream. Welcome in everybody coming in. We are reading a poem called A Dancing Skeleton's Solitude, which is, we're getting into a lot of like heavy nihilism, kind of death vibes. So if that's not your vibe, maybe this isn't the stream for you right now. But we talk about poetry here. That's, if you're not familiar, and we've had this community coming in a lot. And yeah, we talk about poetry. Hey Jen, hate to interrupt, but can you check your Discord real quick? Sure. I hate to have you interrupt. Okay, thank you. That's my sibling. I will close my door. Is the thing. Okay. Thank you, Rin. Okay, we're back. So yeah. No, interrupting's okay. Yeah, welcome in. We're going back. Lamau, join the stream just to tell you to close the door. I mean, yeah, she's like making noise in that direction. So, it's actually, she didn't want to interrupt my stream by making noise that y'all could hear. Nah, I love contemplating and overanalyzing, and your readers might too. That's why being mindful in poetry. Oh, are we doing the overanalysis argument? We're talking about apples. I've been missing the whole apple conversation, but Staj, Fail, Ishmael, it seems like you're having a great time. So, I'm glad you're having a good argument in my chat. That's always good, and I wish I could keep up with it and argue too, but poem, you know. Anyway, Brian, you're gonna start an apple argument. I think you're trolling. I think you're rage baiting by saying red delicious apples are the best. That has to be rage bait, right? That has to be rage bait. I'm like, there's no. Of course, you would like Granny Smith stylish fail. That's like so perfect for you. Yeah, bite kiosk. That's rage bait. That's rage bait. I'm not. I'm not. One, Granny Smith fits you because you like writing. Well, you have like the poem about Granny Esme, and you just have this like old kind. I mean, you're not like old, but you like write about aging a lot, and like just the word granny you've used in a poem, right? And then I think like the sourness fits you in that I think you have a hmm like I don't think you don't seem like someone who necessarily wants to like indulge in saccharine and hollow things, you know? So, kind of just the vibe I get from you. Like you're okay with the sour. You're okay with like the bitter. That's how I mean that's like a very like optimistic nihilism, right? To to be okay with the sourness of life. um Clearly Eris's golden apple is the best apple. Not familiar with that one. But there's also Minecraft golden apples. There's Apple the company, which we don't like them. Uh, there's all kinds of actual apples. Um, Rotten apples. Apple seeds. Apples yet to be. Adam's apple. True. Okay, we'll get back to the poem. We've derailed. Big. Okay. I'm like, I keep seeing Apple stuff. I've written a big chunk of messages asking you something. Would you like to check Two-Thirds Lotus? I feel like they're part of like the. Oh, Imogen. I will give you a statement. Would you be kind enough to agree/disagree? Love can be a symbol for Apple. Love can be a symbol for Apple, or apples can be a symbol for love. Oh, as much as apples can be a symbol for love. Nothing inherently makes love a bigger concept than apple. There is no order for what is the surface level meaning and what is the true meaning. Oh, geez. That's a big, that's a big question, Ishmael. Um, we're totally derailed. And it's okay because I love this question. The question, for those who did not catch it, is so we know that like an apple can be a symbol for love. We see this in, you know, like the biblical tradition, the Garden of Eden, this like tempting thing. We also have like a fruit that we bite into, something sweet, something filling. Um, and sometimes in a poem, we can talk about an apple. This is how symbols work. We can say apple, and people might automatically associate that, we're talking about love or that we're talking about temptation. Love might not be perfect here because it's a little more difficult, right? Um, your A deserves our attention span. Your A does, but I love the tangents. And this is just part of stream, always, right? And that's just what we get, and I'm sorry, your A. In the same way that, the moon can be associated with like femininity or femininity, or like birth, cycles, menstruation. This just like happens because we have this association in the world. The question is, can we go the other direction? Can love be a symbol for apples? Can femininity be a symbol for the moon? And I think the way that a symbol functions is really that it takes us from no, it's okay. I wouldn't mind you focusing. No, I have not given it enough time, Ure. I'm not done with it. Don't worry. I think, to me, I haven't thought about this too much, but my understanding right now is a symbol, literary symbol, takes us from something concrete to something abstract. It's not about size or anything like that. So the moon is something we can see, and we can talk about the moon, right? And we can understand femininity without having to talk about femininity. We can talk about the apple and, reference temptation and reference all of this stuff without actually discussing that thing. Um, and I think symbols usually take this motion of small and concrete into abstract. Uh, and in that case, we would not, this, like, using love to reference apples would just be, like, referencing the symbol and referencing the fact that the symbol exists. I don't think love could ever serve as a symbol for apple, because I think that's an inversion of the motion. That's my answer, Ishmael. Feel free to dispute me and write scathing comments arguing against that. No, I mean, Yurei, I haven't even, like, given dedicated thought to half of the poem. I couldn't possibly agree with you that I've solved it, that I've, like, gotten the value from it, I've only eaten half the apple. I only have half the knowledge. See, that was me using a symbol. Apple, knowledge. It's the fruit of knowledge, right? Okay, we got sidetracked when we started talking about being laid. That makes sense. But death swallow me whole. Mislaid again, death swallow me whole. Brain aches as worthlessness convenes. So I think we have now that I thought about making love as a symbol for sex, I think it's a euphemism or like a phrase. I don't think that's a symbol. We haven't even gotten to the core of the apple metaphor. Yeah. Did I just miss an entire sex conversation? We've been constantly throughout this poem joking that this is really about being sad and masturbating. Amour propre, self-loved, engulfed in impotence and solitude. That could easily be respun as masturbation. Golloped, to be eaten out inside, to be emptied. I accidentally said eaten out. We're explaining the jokes. We're live for this? Right, we are live for this. Mislaid, to miss getting laid. Anyway, that's as far as we've gone with that. I mean, I guess we also have death swallow me whole, right? That's why I just juice all my apples. Fair enough. Death swallows me whole. Brain aches as worthlessness convenes. So, this might even be a sort of turn into the pessimistic. I cannot endure nihilism, mislaid again, death swallow me whole. Like, this almost reads as death, please, death, do this thing, death, swallow me whole, right? Can you swallow me whole, death? Brain aches, like, my mind is in pain as worthlessness convenes. I'm like, it's like that moment where you're just grappling with nihilism, and it's just like everything is so acutely full of suffering, and one feels so worthless and one feels so empty that one becomes willing to die in the face of death, right? When one begins to contemplate the death that they witness, then they begin to contemplate their own death. And that's sort of the origin of nihilism. I am going to die, I am going to be permanently obliterated and never wake up again at some point in my life. How do I go on? And is in realizing that death exists that I begin to ponder my own. My name is you, I swear. This is very William Blake. Life lives upon death. My name is you. I think we've already addressed death directly, and that was the last person we addressed. So you. This could also just be like a person we have seen die, which you've sort of given us the context of that, Ure. My name is you. You, the person who has died, who has led me to witness this thing, again perceived as a walking corpse. So now I can't do anything but see myself. I cannot see myself as anything other than already being dead, empty, shambling. Also, welcome in, Nikki. I don't think I said hi to you specifically. Welcome. My name is you, I swear, again perceived as a walking corpse. So we're back into this nihilistic realization. I think again is very interesting because like this has happened before, and this will probably stop happening, right? Where my name is you, I swear, again perceived as a walking corpse. Like, I've been perceived as a walking corpse once. I am again. And I think this sort of makes sense. Like, we are reminded of death, the nihilist. The nihilist is reminded of death. And then their brain aches and they feel worthless and then they want to die. And they feel like they are death and they live upon the fact that death is happening at the end of their life. And then at some point you sort of wake up from that slump. You sort of, come back from it and like return to some extent and keep living. You like go live another day. Pageant of time. Again perceived as a walking corpse. Pageant of time dictates what you can see. So we have like this walking pageant, like this theme of presenting oneself, I guess. Pageant of time dictates what you can see. So we're walking through time. My name is you, I swear, again perceived as a walking corpse. Pageant of time dictates what you can see. You. Again perceived as a walking corpse. Pageant of time dictates what you can see. This is kind of a hard line. To dictate is to say, to determine. Pageant of time dictates. So it's the walking through time, it's the going about living. Maybe this is just the fact that, we must progress through time. Like, it is the progression of time that allows death to begin creeping into things, so that as we walk along this pageant of time, as we go further and further, death gets closer and closer, and then you sort of walk off the runway and you're gone. That makes sense. I think that's how the symbol kind of lands for me. Is this the hardest viewer poem I've read? No. This is actually not. This is very dense, though. I think it's one of the denser things I've read. It's like up there, I would say. There have been things I've really like struggled and had to grapple with and bang my head against. One was the lyrics that Ishmael sent the other day. Um, Sometimes they're hard for other reasons. Hardest poem? Is this the hardest poem, guys? Hard? Swallow me whole? Okay, we're done. um, I see it as you can't control how time changes how you are perceived. Okay, you can't control how time changes. Oh. So it's like, as we walk through time, I like that, Nikki. That's, uh, I like that interpretation a lot, actually. Um, um, uh, y'all are throwing me off by being funny in chat. I like when y'all are funny though. So as we go through life, as we walk the runway, we decay. We fall apart. The pageant of time, our clothing, the thing we display, our body, our skin, our physical me decays and falls apart. Dictates what you can see, that physical external me, that body that is destined to decay. Pride go away. Maybe this makes sense. Pride is that holding on to self, a different kind of self-love, where we love the moment, where we love the temporal thing that we're going to lose. And so if we can get rid of pride, maybe we can usurp the pageant of time. I like how this almost like pageant is a bit like passing, right? Like the passing of time, the pageant of time, they almost feel like very similar words and they evoke each other. So yeah, pride go away. Right? It is pride, it is grasping, it is looking for meaning in God, maybe, that makes this hurt so much. All of that. "500 years later, people will study this poem." I mean, it's presumptuous. I would hope that 500 years from now, someone amongst us, our poetry will be studied. I mean, wouldn't that be beautiful? This author must have been such a serious person. Meanwhile, I'm making D jokes while he's we're all just we're all just joking. Yeah. Um, we must smile in the face of death. We must laugh. We must dance. A dancing skeleton. Ah, maybe that's what we're doing here. I'm perceived as a walking corpse. My pride must go away. I must just dance and be free. I am a walking skeleton, and I am alone, so I dance. That's very optimistic nihilist right there. Maybe that's the poem. "To the grave once again. You left me, hollow flow of time." So you left me, if we go back to this you as someone who has died, someone who has reminded us of death, right? Then you left me, like a person, a literal person, the reminder of death. I think this is the only thing, like these are kind of the only things in the poem really evoking like it's about old people. Like old people are naturally associated with death. I don't really think it super strongly evokes this, personally, I will say. "To the grave once again. You left me hollow, flow of time." You left me hollow? You left me hollow, flow of time. So, death has taken, time has taken. "Dance with my bones in the clear solitude I longed for. Dance with my bones in the clear solitude I longed for. Kissed me a good night. I feel like I struggle with the actual isn't you time? Yeah, you left me hollow flow of time. Or like yeah, but like the flow of time, like what is the flow of time? What is the flow of time embodied as in this poem? It's the decomposed smile, right? It's the skeleton. It's the person we've seen die. Um, and I think maybe that's another reason why this poem doesn't as strongly evoke this single person, this old person who has brought upon these thoughts of death, because like you is really the flow of time. You is like really death here, which time and death are embodied, but we kind of have to take a leap of logic. We kind of have to extrapolate to say, well, how would a person grapple with death? And there are a million ways we can grapple with death. Of course, we give the very first thing, the decomposed smile, the death of a physical object, a skull. But this would also imply something much older, not an aging person. It seems like you left me hollow is being said to the flow of time in that line. I agree. Yeah. In the same way that, my name is you is referring to death. Or death, swallow me whole. You left me hollow, flow of time. Which these actually connect quite well. Like flow of time and death are associated through these two lines, which also associates us with like the golloped, all of that stuff. It's good. I like how these things connect. But yeah, you left me hollow, flow of time. Dance with my bones in the clear solitude I longed for. Kissed me. I'm struggling with the grammar of the last two lines. This is something I must say. Dance with my bones in the clear. Like, that's fine. In the clear. And then we have solitude I longed for, kissed me a good night. Which on its own is fine. It's like a fragment. And maybe that's what we're saying. Solitude, the solitude I longed for, kissed me a good night. But I feel like it also like wants to be read as like dance with my bones in the clear solitude. But there's a comma here. So I guess we're supposed to read it as two separate. I mean, this is like a sentence. And then this is just like a fragment. Maybe a comma isn't the best punctuation choice there. Unsure. Dance with my bones in the clear. I like that. Time just carries me along. Time will dance with my bones. That could be both in death, where time just takes hold of them, or in life, where, I am dancing. I am bones dancing, carried by time. That's all I am. That's pretty. And then solitude I longed for, kissed me a good night. Maybe they dance because of the kiss, hence the comma. Dance with my bones in the clear. Solitude I longed for, kissed me a good night. Yeah, in which case it implies that like we're dead and time is less left to do what it wishes with our bones. Dance with my bones in the clear. Solitude I longed for, kissed me a good night. Well, okay, wait. There's like a double interpretation here. Aren't we dead though? That's the question. Are we dead? I don't think we have to be. This is definitely like an interpretive choice. I'm going to argue that we're not dead. In these two lines. We are our own past. Okay, well, maybe you're just... We are our own past, that's true. In that, we're always dead. Maybe there's a whole other interpretation for the poem through that frame. Good point, Leon. Solitude I longed for. What is the solitude I longed for in this poem? The specifically mentioned solitude that I longed for is this one. When we're asking, death to swallow us. Right? I beseech. Worthless I beseech impart purpose. So we ask for God and we don't get it. Right? We don't get purpose from God. And so we are nihilistic and we ask for death. Those are the choices, arguably, that this poem suggests. But then the solitude I longed for, the pessimistic nihilism, has kissed me goodnight. Somehow kissed me goodnight. And so the flow of time may dance with my bones in the clear, for the remaining time, in the clear, for what is left, I guess. In which case, I am alive and I've escaped pessimistic solitude, or pessimistic nihilism, and now I am dancing. Right? That's an argument. The other is, the solitude I longed for kissed me goodnight, as in, I am dead. Right? I died. I got my solitude, I got obliterated, and now my bones will be danced with into the ground. It could be that I died on a metaphorical level, right? In grappling with death, in understanding that I am death and I am a walking corpse, I am already dead because I will die. I can now dance. Right, that's the pride go away. I am already dead. I have nothing to hold on to. I am free. I am liberated. So now I'm in the grave again, but I'm alive. Because I'm walking, because I'm a walking corpse or something. We've all been dying since the day we're born. We've all been dead since the day we're born. Maybe. In life, you are dead the moment your purpose is not yours anymore. You have illusions in your youth. You're dead the moment your purpose is not yours anymore. I might agree with that statement. I don't know if I do. Now we're getting very philosophical. But okay, I'm actually partial to this as a metaphorical death, which is sort of leaning toward the subjective, taking this poem as something that I can understand through the way that I see the world. But if we go back, my name is you, I swear, again perceived as a walking corpse. I have looked at the fact that I'm going to die, so now I acknowledge myself as dead. Right? Pageant for time dictates what you can see. So my body is turned over to the walking through time. Pride go away, now or never, I say. In that moment of deep, bottomless hopelessness, you can abandon pride and you can abandon the fact that you're anything but a walking corpse, a living creature destined to die. Right? And when you do, you sort of accept death in life. To the grave once again you left me, hollow flow of time. And maybe it's the flow of time that left me. To the grave once again you left me, flow of time. The flow of time has gone to the grave and has left me here. Okay. I'm not sure. I don't want to force my interpretation onto it. Maybe that's just a reiteration of the same. We're flowing toward death. And then now I can dance with my bones in the clear, right? I can be free from death. I can dance. I have the solitude of death. I escaped God by dying. You talked about nihilism as revolutionary. I think someone talked about God, um, and it being like a spitting in the face of God type thing. Nietzsche, God is dead. Um, right? I accepted death instead of reaching for God, and now I am happy. Now I can dance. Maybe that's a thought, right? um, yeah. Welcome in FJ89. You came in just as we're about to have an ad break on Twitch, also known as a mental break, because as you say, we've been thinking very deeply, and it is very important to rest our minds, to kind of come away from the poem, and we'll probably come back to this one a little bit more just to wrap it up, to discuss a few more things. But for now, everyone, like, stand up, get away from the computer, you know, rest your eyes, lay on the floor, get a water, get a snack, go to the bathroom, get a beer. I don't know, whatever you do. Um, and I'll be right back. Hello. Welcome back. We have a special guest on stream. It's Harper. There's a dog. Isn't he so cute? I love him. Anyway, uh, yeah, a real living, breathing dog. um, anyway, welcome back. I'm Imogen. um, it's the dog in me. Yeah, you got that dog in you. I want to say something to what you said a second ago, Yurei. And we will go back to the poem. Yes, the dog's name is Harper. Um, you said, Yurei, I like how my poem made you guys think so deeply. It's pretty touching. And I really think that more than anything else, more than like the analysis, why analyze, right? Is like a pretty reasonable question, right? Um, and one person might say, okay, we can analyze the poem so we can like give people feedback on their work. We can analyze the feedback, we can analyze the poem so we can understand it more or like get it. I'm starting to think that the most important part of like the reason to analyze a poem, the reason to sit with art and meditate on it, and that's the word, right? Is to let ourselves engage in the process of thinking, right? To give oneself the time and the space to, take something difficult or take something we don't like, right? Maybe this is the kind of poem that Stylish Veil didn't like. Maybe some of you really like this poem. But it's to take something different and like spend time thinking about it, right? And when I first started analyzing on stream, I was doing like Bukowski, and I chose his poetry because I didn't like it. I didn't like Bukowski's writing. And I said, if I'm going to spend time analyzing something, maybe I should do something difficult, something hard, something I don't like, something uncomfortable, because that's giving my mind, that's like doing myself a favor, right? To spend time engaging with honestly other ideas. And I think just the lesson of taking time with art, taking time to engage with something, with ideas and talk about them is so like foreign in 2026 Anno Domini, right? Where like we just don't do this. We swipe through TikTok. We want something fast. We want gratification. We want our own little like intellectual, algorithmic jacking off, right? And we talk about jacking off on stream too much. I think it's a useful concept though. And like I don't know, to actually engage with a poem, to actually spend time with something, right, is really like the best way to move away from like these caught up, fast, uncomfortable, gratified postmodern lives. So that was just like a little more of a nuanced response to the thing you said earlier. Um, you know, like I don't think we think deeply enough. I don't think people spend enough time thinking about each other's art, and that's sad. So I'm glad it's good. Welcome in FJ89, and you came in right before the ad. Glad to have you. I'm doing quite well. I hope you are well. Um, I like nihilism. I define myself as a Monty Python nihilist. I'm not sure what that means. I have no control over what words my brain decides it is in the mood for. That sounds quite hard. I've definitely been there before, and it's not fun. I didn't find it fun. Let's talk a little bit more about this poem. We've talked a lot, but I definitely want to do a full read again and maybe touch on some other things, or if there are other questions from chat or from you, Yurei, or if we want to dig into this idea of like, does it evoke the idea of old people, or this kind of thing that you were going for that maybe I feel like it doesn't. We could talk about any of those things. But here's the poem again. A Dancing Skeleton's Solitude. Decomposed smiles and cries of time, decay and fugue in a wallow of misery. Amour propre, engulfed in impotence and solitude. Exhort for God to take me in as well. Worthless, I beseech. Impart purpose. Golloped inside, I cannot endure nihilism, mislaid again. Death, swallow me whole. Brain aches as worthlessness convenes. My name is you, I swear. Again perceived as a walking corpse, pageant of time dictates what you can see. Pride go away. Now or never, I say. To the grave once again, you left me hollow flow of time. Dance with my bones in the clear. Solitude I longed for kissed me a good night. Is Harper a harpist? Hope he's happy having his honest harp. I think you did typos. Harvesting honey. His honest harp harvesting honey. Yeah, those H's in English suck. Thank you for reading the poem. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe there's a. I feel like I've said most of what I want to say. I do want to touch on this though, and anything else that people have questions on. You know, you say most people don't seem to catch that this poem is about old people, and it's sad. But to me, like really, I'm not sure that the poem is really effective in communicating this idea, right? I think it's a good poem. I think it does great on death and time and meaning and belief and etc., etc., etc. I think expecting people to get this from the poem is definitely like the wrong direction. And, you know, we can write a poem. We can write a poem about something. We can start with the idea of old people as the thing that inspires us, and maybe that's what happened for you. But oftentimes we do that, and like sometimes this will just exist in the background as the context of our writing. And when we do this, like sometimes it doesn't actually get evoked in the text itself, right? Our reader can never understand that we're trying to write about old people if we never tell them anything about old people, even if it was in our mind with like every single word we wrote. So like to go back through, right? A Dancing Skeleton's Solitude. You know, we know after reading the poem that we're talking about someone who is alive and dead, which maybe evokes the idea of someone who is dying, who is like emaciated or who is just extremely frail. and they are a skeleton that is still moving. Um, and so, like, maybe that in general implies a frail person, but I think more so, right, in the context of the poem, we're talking about a walking corpse as me, as I. My name is you. And I think we have a lot of this like really heavy personal nihilist grappling where we are to understand, at least I understand a dancing skeleton solitude. You know, if I sort of ignore this context you've given as I am a person and I am alive, so I'm a dancing skeleton. I am this living thing destined to die. And we go to like decomposed smiles, a skull. This thing is already dead. Not an old person, it's dead. Cries of time, decay, and fugue. Arguably fugue. Like another way we describe something like dementia or someone losing themselves as they die is like a fugue state. In a wallow of misery. Um, Amor propre, engulfed in impotence and solitude. Exhort for God to take me in as well. And I think like now this is where it feels like it moves to personal struggle. I beseech, I'm exhorting for God. It's self-love. Impart purpose. I am galloped inside. I cannot endure nihilism. Right? We have a big shift to me after the second stanza, or in the second stanza, and I think this makes it feel right, very personal. My name is you is actually meant to refer to a young people and their inability to empathize with an old person. My name is you, I swear. Again perceived, so it's you being perceived as a walking corpse. My name is you. And I think maybe that right makes sense. Like my name is you, thinking about oneself as another person is the motion of empathy. I think the issue with that, right, is when we use a pronoun, you is a pronoun, right? A pronoun needs to have something it points to. And, you know, that means our poem has to have a sort of cast of characters. Who's the cast in this poem? The cast is me. The cast is God. The cast is death. Death swallow me whole. The cast is time. And I don't think we establish the sort of character in this poem of another human, except for maybe the decomposed smile. Like if we really try, right, the fugue state and the walking corpse maybe could be an old person. But even in that case, the you is before the walking corpse, right? And I think this means, you know, you is always going to imply, is going to speak to something that we've already seen, usually. Um, and so I find that this lands as my name is you, death. Death, swallow me whole. My brain aches, or brain aches as worthlessness convenes. My name is you, right? The last person we referred to is death, right? So that's sort of what it jumps to. One of the things I love about poetry is there is the allegory I write, and then there's the allegory being read, and seeing the many the many variations so beautiful. Absolutely. I mean, that's like the greatest thing is that it's subjective, and no one will interpret exactly what we were saying. Um, and I think that maybe that idea is something we should think about. Maybe you should think about Ure. when you say like I'm sad people don't get the old people reference because there is the thing that you write and there's the thing that people get. Um and you know, pride go away, right? People will see what they see, I guess. Fun fact, I made this poem for a puzzle level in a video game, and the level's name is Hello, My Name is You. Even 6 years later, it's considered a top 10 hardest puzzle. It was part of it was part of a 10 puzzle series, 10 different poems. That's really cool. That's so nerdy. That's sick. What's the video game? I would love to know. Um, oh, but to make and like the poem, you you seem to like the fact that it's difficult, right? You've mentioned the difficulty of this poem multiple times, and I think that makes sense now, right? You wrote it in reference to a puzzle game. This poem is a bit of a puzzle. Uh, and I also think if you're going to write a poem that's a puzzle, um, words words are very difficult puzzles to solve. Uh, word puzzles. Not word puzzles like I don't know, like crosswords or whatever. um, but the puzzles of literature and the puzzles of poetry are very hard. Um, and when you write a poem that's a puzzle, you probably should never expect someone to solve it. Does a riddle written in verse count as a poem? I mean, you defined it as a riddle, right? Poems can be riddles. One of the big early styles of Middle English poetry around like Beowulf times that we have like very small fragments from was the poem as a riddle. Like that was a big um, stylistic thing that happened in English poetry in like the 13th century, the 14th century. So I think poems can be riddles, and a riddle in verse, yeah, like probably, it would probably read as a poem. Game is called Grotopia, but it's not explicitly a puzzle game. It has a community for it. Cool. I've never heard of that game, but I'm not really a big video game person. Sandbox MMO. Oh, so people like make puzzles within the game. I see. Um, as I was going, as I was going to St. Ives is a pretty famous riddle poem. As I was going to St. Ives, who's this by? Is that Blake? No. Oh, anonymous. No author. As I was going to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives. Each wife had 7 sacks, and each sack had 7 cats. Each cat had 7 kits. Kits, cats, sacks, and wives. How many were there going to St. Ives? Oh, okay. So it's like a little puzzle. Like that's a little math riddle. That's very fun. Um, yeah. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening? Is this a poem? I mean, that's a pretty like it is a that's a riddle, right? It's an old person or it's a person, right? 4 legs, a baby crawling, 2 in the afternoon, in the middle of their life, walking, 3, a person with a cane. Um, it's one of those riddles that you have to take a very like artistic leap to understand. Um, to like have the cane as the leg and the crawling as 4 legs. Um, afternoon, morning, evening as phases of life. Uh, that was always a riddle that I liked a lot because it makes you take an artistic leap. Uh, there's poems that are like, or there's riddles um, that I'd say are a little more like straightforward or don't require you to like take a big interpretive jump. I find that fairly poetic. um, but it's hard to define things as what is a poem. Like, that's very clearly a riddle. Like, what is this? Right? I don't know. Okay, anyway, so in terms of the old people thing, right, we have the my name is you, this sort of empathy. Again perceives as a walking corpse, pageant of time dictates what you can see. Pride go away, now or never, I say. To the grave once again you left me, hollow flow of time. Dance with my bones in the clear, solitude I long for, kissed me a good night. And I think in general, right, like, there is very little here that directly calls us to the idea, this like old person idea. And I just want to like point that out, Ure. Not that it's bad, because the poem is like, it's a good poem. I really enjoy it. Um, but from like, if this is really what you want people to get, that it's about old people, you might need to make it a little more clear. I'm not sure if you would even want to edit a poem after 6 years, and this one's very good and is like something a 16-year-old wrote. I mean, like, that's wonderful, right? That kind of blows me away. Um, but as a poem in itself, I honestly want to allow people to think what they think. I mean, that's good. That's where you should be. I guess I'm specifically like calling attention to what you said pretty early in stream. That was like, most people don't get that it's about old people, and that's kind of sad. Um, and I just wonder about that impulse. It's kind of sad. Um, but yeah, no, I like the poem a lot. uh, very. I mean, it's a lot. It's dramatic. It's intense. Um, Definitely, as Stylish Phil was saying, these like big ideas, this meditation on death. But I think like anything so directly about nihilism kind of needs to be that edgy. Um, it's hard to not talk about this stuff without it being dramatic, because like the play of life and death and how we come to find purpose within that is a very dramatic thing. Um, I'd love I'd love at some point to see something. I don't know if you've kept writing since then, like for 6 years, but if you have more recent work, uh, I mean, that's something I would like be fascinated to see, because you're like roughly my age, right? And the difference, though, is that you've moved on to writing books, I see. You're roughly my age, but you've been writing for 3 times as long as I have. And that's very fascinating to me. What do you write? Like, what do you write about? What genre? What things are your book preferences? I guess it was a very poorly worded question. I think that's all for this poem, though. Um, so I'm gonna read it one more time. Unless anyone has any like last questions, comments, thoughts, things you want me to keep talking about, all of that. Um, I'd be glad to indulge in those questions. If not, um, then we'll call it. You know? Yeah. I don't think there's any questions. I know it like takes a minute, and chat's a little delayed, and that's hard. Um, I'll let you check out a synopsis if you're interested. I read it while I was 19 and then had a little alcoholic drug arc, but I'm writing new stuff again in the past year, soon releasing. That's really awesome. Cool. Um, Call it Time of Death 2304, yeah. Um, So here's the poem again, and maybe we'll open that book link. A dancing skeleton's solitude. Decomposed smiles and cries of time. Decay and fugue in a wallow of misery. Amour propre engulfed in impotence and solitude. Exhort for God to take me in as well. Worthless, I beseech, impart purpose. Golloped inside, I cannot endure nihilism. I feel like it's only now that I'm noticing some of like the musical things going on. Mislaid again, death swallow me whole. Brain aches as worthlessness convenes. My name is you, I swear, again perceived as a walking corpse. Pageant of time dictates what you can see. Pride, go away. Now or never, I say. To the grave once again, you left me hollow flow of time. Dance with my bones in the clear. Solitude I longed for, kissed me a good night. That is a dancing skeleton's solitude. I can't notice the sounds. I'm stuck on sex innuendos. Yeah, I mean, there was a minute in the middle of stream where I was like reading the poem and I'm like, I just can't get over the fact that we've redefined half of this poem as innuendos. And I was like trying not to laugh. Um, but yeah, there is some sound stuff happening in there. Um, there's like, um, uh, worthless, I beseech, impart purpose, worthless. Worthless, I beseech, impart purpose, golloped inside, I cannot endure nihilism, endure purpose, worthless, you know. Mislaid again, death swallow me whole, oh, whole, brain aches as worthlessness convenes. There's some like subtle internal rhyme happening, which is cool. Um, but yeah, it was a good read. I know we got kind of distracted and whatever, but that was quite fun. I thank you for sending it, Ure. Um, very glad to have read that one, and yeah, good stuff. Okay, I'm gonna open this link because you have a book on Amazon. So I presume this is like the Amazon self-publishing kind of thing. I hope you'll have a horrible life, volume 1 of 2 by Yureyovsky Daza. Now I know your name. Um, uh, I hope you'll have a horrible life is a first-person novel following a narcissistic middle schooler that gets forced into a ridiculous task by a seemingly supernatural being, the devil itself. So it's like a middle school Faust. Barely attending school and spending all his time relying on energy drinks for any motivation, the task of dominating the world, ends up as the last thing on Johann's mind. The things that end up plaguing him end up being the breadcrumbs of his own actions as he finds himself constantly terrorizing both his school classmates through things such as stalking, manipulation, even violence. That, that sounds, I mean, sort of miserable. Um, it reminds me of like, um, uh, who's that guy? Dazai, no longer human, right? Um, that like that book. I don't know if you've read that, Ure, but if you still like reading those kinds of stories, I think Dazai, no longer human. Leon, you would probably like that book too, if you haven't read it. I think it's uh it's sort of interesting. I read that. My pen name was Daza. Um I think that's part of what made me think about it. I put this down. Oh. Okay. Imogen is different when Harper is here. We got a little drama. Am I more miserable? Am I more dark and edgy when the dog is around? Coincidence, probably, right? I loved your analysis. I'll be sending you one every stream now. Awesome. Um, the so analysis is usually like I go live, whoever's in chat. Sorry, the dog's trying to dig a hole in the floor. Um, sorry if that's like making sound. As long as you don't dig into the cable, that's fine. Um, um, uh, went and came back. First thing I hear is, "I hope you have a horrible life." I hope y'all don't have horrible lives. Okay, so it makes sense you're inspired by Does I. That makes a lot of sense. Words. So yeah, the way stream works, Uray, is like I feel like I go live. Whoever's kind of around, already in chat is usually the pool of people I pick from to read poems. I prioritize people who have been read less on stream, people who are newer, and then I prioritize submissions. Can y'all hear that? Him digging into the floor? That's like exceptionally annoying, my friend. You know we're live here, right? We're live streaming. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Respect the stream. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Wait, he's walking over there. Do we... Oh no. Where is he? Can we see him on stream? Oh, he's behind the chair. There he is. He's kind of like limping. He like hurt his leg on the walk yesterday. That's why he's been very cuddly. Gotta work on that. You wanna go out? Goodbye. Our guest is departed. Okay. We're back. He's doing his thing. Dogs come from hunting races that do that to create a hole to hide in for the night. Yeah. We had a YouTube comment where it's not showing up on my screen. Wait. Maybe it's because it's... Has YouTube still not been showing up? Oh. I like the format here for it. Ah, it just didn't show up on the chat kind I had selected. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you like the format. There's lots of videos on the YouTube channel of other of these streams, and I stream 3 times a week reading people's poetry. So there's plenty more where that came from, I guess. And we just started streaming on YouTube. Most of my chat is on Twitch, which you can probably see here. Oh, whoa. It's got like super heavy like vertigo. Like I feel like I'm like kind of not here right now. Okay. Whoa. Okay, I need a second. I'm gonna drink some water. Okay. I feel like I'm like my brain is delayed from my body right now. What just happened? Have sugar? I already... Whoa. I ate like a bunch today. I had my big old like 1,000-calorie smoothie. Oh. Whoa. I feel like this might be like I think I'm okay. I've gotten like a few migraines before that are like really bad, and I feel like this is kind of the feeling. Breathing in through nose. Okay, yeah, I'll breathe. Um, like of pre-migraine. I also don't breathe enough on stream when I'm talking sometimes. Like I talk too much. Yeah, like an aura. Like that's kind of what it felt like the start of an aura. It's something that my mom gets a lot, migraines, and she talks about her auras. I feel like I might have inherited it. Um, I've only had it happen a few times before. But I think also on stream, I think y'all probably notice sometimes like I talk a lot and then I get a little breathless, and I think it's because I'm just excited about the poetry and I like talking about it. Um, yeah. Take your migraine meds as soon as you feel it coming out. Like I don't do migraine meds because like this has only happened a few times. My mom does, and she has like the Excedrin with like the with the caffeine in it and stuff. So I can get some. Um, it sort of feels like it died down a little bit. Um, maybe not. Ooh, and like screens and light never. Hmm. Imatrex's magic and Mama knows. Yeah, she's done this for many years. Um. Okay, this is exciting. Straighten yourself. Back position's important, right? Oh look. Oh. It might be cervicogenic. Oh, y'all are teaching me everything, which would be from your neck. I feel like I was kind of like this on stream. I'm guessing that means stream is just going to end very shortly. And I will turn off all my lights because light and screens, and I have a lot of um, really strong lights going on when I'm streaming. Um, so stream is probably just ending here. Um, I haven't had that happen um, in a while. Um, I feel like it was like 6 months ago. Was my first like really really bad, painful, horrible experiencing hell migraine. I've had migraines with aura all my life, dude. We got we got like hella migraine people in chat. What's up with that? Is there a causal link between art and migraines? My mom's an artist too. Okay, yeah. Back, neck, straighten myself, lay down, drink water, caffeine. I will do these things. Welcome in, Czic Graph. Just want to say hello because you're new. Um, but thank you all for coming in. Thank you everyone for lurking, everyone who commented. Thank you, Ure, for sending that excellent poem. Um, hopefully, stream will be back on Wednesday at noon Pacific time, because that's the um, when I stream. uh, so yeah. Um, I see a notable lack of dollar sign where I can send a bit. Um, I I don't know. So I just started streaming to YouTube, Caesar. Um, so I don't know how like the YouTube live stream monetization stuff works. I think that's what you're referring to. Um, I've been streaming on Twitch for the first, 187 of the 188 streams that we've streamed. So I'm still figuring out the YouTube live streams. But I can look into that for future streams, of course. I just don't know how that stuff works. Um, yeah. If you want to support my art elsewhere, um, I have a Substack, I guess, as well. Uh, but yeah, brain right now. Okay. Um, yeah, cool. Thanks everyone for watching. I don't remember how to do my stream outro. Um, Thank you for watching. Thank you for lurking, everyone. Thanks for the poem. And keep making art you love. And just as importantly, uh, keep taking care of yourself. Because we all need to do that. Bye.